Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day to each and every one of you. I am Muhammad Safwan bin Zulkifli. I'll be your lecturer for this course for this semester, and welcome to FMGT 0213 Basic Information Communication Technology. And for this week's lesson, we'll be covering the first topic, which is on computer and information technology. So, are you guys ready? I hope you do. And without wasting any more time, let us start with this week's lecture. So, what are the learning outcomes? Well, basically, here are the learning outcomes. By the end of the topic, students should be able to explain why computer literacy is vital to success in today's world. And then you should also be able to define the term computer and describe the relationship between data as well as information. You should be able to discuss how society uses technology in education, government, and any other industries, for instance, entertainment, retail, and even government agencies and the publishing. So, moving on to the next slide. First thing first, with the topic, we'll start with computer literacy. So I believe you've heard of this term before, computer. But what about literacy? So the word literacy, it comes from the word literate, alright? Literate. So literacy, and I believe you've covered this during your high school, for instance, where you went for your English courses, okay? During SPM, PT3, whatnot. So English literature, so we have this literacy. So definitely when it comes to literacy here, it is something related to the ability to read, to understand. So that's why when it comes to computer literacy here, when we define it, we can define it as an understanding of the concept, terminology, and operations that relate to general computer use. So that's why we have this understanding. Alright, so the concept here, understanding. So that's why we call it computer literacy, because it is all about understanding the concepts, okay? Because when it comes to using the computer, you should be able to understand the concepts, terminology, operations, yes, the operations on how to run a computer, alright? On how to operate a computer. So that's why when it comes to computer literacy, it is actually your ability to understand and to operate a computer, just like a normal literacy, your ability to read, to understand the words. So computer literacy, the ability for you to operate the computer and to understand the computer. And then it is actually the essential knowledge needed to function independently with a computer. So meaning to say that you should be able to run the computer independently on your own. So you should know how to operate the computer, how to play around with the software, okay, with Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, whatnot, independently on your own. And then the functionality includes being able to solve and avoid problems, adapt to new situations, as well as to keep information organized and communicate effectively with other computer literate people. So that's what you're going to be doing this semester, yes. Definitely, you need to have a computer, name it a desktop, a laptop, iMac, MacBook, whatnot, okay? Regardless of this device, as long as the device can run as a computer, you should be fine. And when you have the device, definitely you should be able to avoid problems. Yes, you should know how to keep the informations, and then how to communicate, how to share the information with the others who are also using a computer. So that is computer literacy. So now moving on to the next slide, which is reasons on why computer literacy is very critical. Meaning to say that. So reasons why computer literacy is very important. Why, in order for us to survive this world, we need to be able to be using computers. Why? Because there are a lot of reasons as to why you need to be able to be using a computer. One of them, definitely more jobs for opportunity. You might be surprised that later in the future, when you go for the interview sessions, they might be asking you on your ability to run a computer. They might even test you on the spot or perhaps on a later day, right? For instance, from my own experience, the recruiter asked me whether I can use the computer properly. They tested me on my understanding and ability of using Microsoft Office Suite, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, so whatnot. So that's why when you know how to appropriately use a computer, you will be getting more of jobs opportunity later in the future. Because if you can't run a computer, if you don't know how to use a computer, definitely it will be very difficult for you to be accepted later in the future. Second, better communication. So nowadays, when it comes to communication, if you want to communicate with someone across from the other part of the world, for instance, if you want to communicate with someone in Japan or even in the United States of America, definitely in order for us to be quick to communicate the information or to share the information, definitely we have to use email, WhatsApp, Facebook, even conference call, using Google Meet, using Zoom, whatnot. So definitely, in order for you to do so, you need to be able to use computer. So that's why computer literacy is very important in order for you to be able to communicate more effectively and efficiently. Alright, when it comes to efficiently, remember efficient, you need to minimize the cost, you need to minimize the effort, you need to minimize the time. So that's why when I talked about efficiency, it's all about minimizing. Alright, to minimize the effort, time, cost, whatnot. So that's why when it comes to using a computer to communicate. So in order for you to be efficient, you need to use video conference instead of writing letter and then use courier service to send the letter to USA. Definitely it takes weeks, for instance. So instead of doing so, you just need to go online, click here and there, and then have the meeting and then share information right away. And the third point, new media, new ways of having fun. Definitely nowadays, in order for you to have fun, you can always go to the internet and use your laptop, computer, whatnot to have fun. Meaning to say that you can enjoy Netflix on your computer, you can play games on your computer, and definitely you can only do so if you know how to run a computer. And the next one, the fourth point, having an up-to-date news source. So nowadays, in order for you to get up-to-date information, you can always get those information right at the end of your fingertips. You can just click, and there you go. You get the information. You can go to Twitter, Facebook, whatnot to get the information instead of having to wait for the following day to read the newspaper. Now you can get all those information, the up-to-date information, just by login into your computer and access the internet. And then the last one here, being prepared for the future. Yes, definitely as we moving forward, we will always be relying more and more on the technology, on the computer, on the internet, as what you are having now, online classes. So instead of physically meeting each other, now you have classes via online. So the same goes with the future. In the future, definitely, the world will be relying more and more on the computer and the technology. And in order for you to be better equipped to face the future, in order for you to better face the future, you should be able to run a computer. You should be able to know on how to properly use a computer. Okay? Next slide. So, moving on to the next one, what is technology? So technology, when you heard the term technology, definitely it is something extravagant, okay? Something big. So for instance, when you heard of the term technology, you might be referring to your smartphone, for instance, okay? You might be referring to even your laptops, your devices, to the car, whatnot. But do you know that technology doesn't have to be that big? Actually, technology is a process to accomplish objective by using scientific process, method, and knowledge. It is actually a process. And then actually technology is anything created by human to make life easier and to solve problem. So actually technology is created by us human. Why? Because we want our life to be easier, all right, to make our life easier and to solve problems. So when it comes to technology, it doesn't have to be complicated. And in order for you to better understand this term technology, why don't we watch this video?
Today we are going to answer the question, what is technology? When you think of technology, what do you think of? A telephone? A camera? But what about a table or a chair? Would you consider that technology? Let's investigate to find out. In the dictionary, technologies are things created by humans that can make our lives easier or solve problems. All humans have basic needs, such as getting water and food and having a shelter. Technology is a way to make this easier. Instead of going down to the lake to get water, humans invented a way to bring it straight to our homes with indoor plumbing. Some technologies have wires and plug into the wall, like microphones. Microphones help to record sound. Laptops help us get information, type papers, talk to friends, and much more. But some technologies do not have wires at all. Umbrellas help to keep us dry in the rain, and a lock helps to keep our things safe. A pencil helps us write down information, and a fork helps us to eat food. So let's go back to our first question. Is a chair and a table a technology?
Created using.
So guys, to answer the question, a table, a chair, can you consider them as technology? The answer is definitely a yes. Because with a chair and table, definitely it makes your life easier, alright? So instead of standing all the time, now you have a chair to sit on, alright, to relax, and then table. Instead of writing your essays on the floor, for instance, now you have the table, right? It's more convenience, and then it is more comfortable, and hence it makes your life easier. So that is technology. It doesn't have to be that complicated. A simple pen can be considered as technology because instead of using feather and then you dip it into ink to write essays, whatnot, now you can always use a pen to write anything, alright? So that is technology. And here, the next term, we have information technology. So we know that technology is to make our life easier, to ease our life, to make everything easy, alright, to solve problems. So now we have information technology. So now we are trying to use technology to support information. But what is information? Information is information, or in Malay, maklumat. Definitely when it comes to information, we are sharing data, figures, text, numbers, pictures, whatnot. So you are sharing pictures. For instance, on Instagram, when you posted your pictures, you are actually sharing information about your daily life, for instance. So now when it comes to information technology, definitely we are using the computers here. Computers, storage, the network, alright, the internet, the infrastructure, yes, processes, methods, whatnot, in order to accomplish tasks and objectives. So when it comes to IT, information technology, we are using technology to share information. Alright, and when it comes to sharing information using the technology, we can use computer, laptops, smartphones, and other devices, okay? Because yes, the computers have storage to store your data, and then the network, the internet, you are connected to the internet to share the information, and then the infrastructure, yes, you have the infrastructure, you have the building, you have the place to keep the computer, and then you have the cloud computing, for instance, to keep your information, your iCloud, your Dropbox, whatnot, and then the processes, the methods, what are the steps, for instance, to post your picture on Instagram. You need to upload it first and then write comments, and then with all the hashtags and then post it, okay? So this is information technology. Alright, to accomplish task and objective, what do you want? As simple as to post your pictures online. Alright, so moving on to the next slide, computer. And definitely computer is an electronic device, okay? It is a device, and we call it electronic device. Why? Because it has to be connected to electricity. It needs electricity in order for it to run. In order for us to be using the computer, it needs electricity. And then it operates under the control of instructions stored in its own memory. Yes, the computers, they have their own memory. And whenever you use your computer, they keep track of the usage. They try to understand you when you use the computer. Yes, and from there, they have the memory. And so that's why when you open your computer, for instance, and then when you click Excel or Microsoft PowerPoint, Microsoft Words, so all the recent files are there because the computer knows what are you doing recently. And then when you open your internet, okay, you have the history, whatnot. Yes, because the computer keep tracks on your activity. And then computer accept data, definitely the input. We will be looking at this further in the following slides. All right. And then definitely the computer also process the data. So the computer accept the input, we key in the input. For as simple as when you go online, you open your Google Chrome, okay, you want to know the latest news, so you key in latest news, so that's the input, and then the computer process it, okay, with the help from the internet, and then produce the output, and then ta-da, okay, the results are there. So the recent news, for instance, okay, the results are there. And then later it stores the information for future use. Yes, you can keep it in your desktop, for instance, in the memory, whatnot, for your future use. So when it comes to computer, so this is what I'm talking about just now. A computer can be divided into 4 main components. What are they? Input devices, output devices, system unit, as well as communication devices. So here are the 4 main components of a computer, and let us look at each one of them. Input devices. As the name itself, input. So the keyword is here, in. This is when you put in something into the computer. So that's why it comes to input devices here. It is actually a hardware that enables users to send data to computer. Input can be voice, alphabet, or the letters A, B, C, D, or even the numbers. And sensor, yes, your thumbprint, your face, alright? For instance, when you open your iPhone using the face recognition, and then your thumbprint, whatnot. So those are the input. So why we call it input? Because it goes into the device, it goes into the computer. So what are the examples? Very simple. To capture your voice, microphone, for instance. So here are the examples of input devices. A mouse. Why we call it an input device? Because when you use the mouse, you can, here, if you can see the mouse is moving, the cursor is moving, alright? We call it input devices because you use the mouse to click on what you want, alright? Okay, for instance, when you go online and then you have all the results 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can just click here and there using your mouse. And then keyboard. Definitely, here, keyboard is also an input device because when you type something, the information will be sent to the computer, alright, to the device. And then camera, yes, why we call it as an input device? Because the camera capture your image. And then for instance, when you unlock your phone using your face, so the camera is the one actually capturing the image. Okay, so that's why we call it input device. And then microphone to capture your beautiful voice. And then yes, we have biometric system, voice recognition, thumbprint, and scanner. Scanner is also an input device. Why? Because when you scan, you are trying to get an outside information and you want to keep it into the device, into the computer, into the hard drive, for instance. and then the game controller, or we call it joystick or the dance pad. Okay, so when you play games, definitely the game controller, you're using it to send information to the PC. All right, so if you want your character to jump up, so you move up, for instance, you press the up button so that the character jumps, for instance. Okay. The next one, we have output devices. As the name itself, output, out. So this is when the information goes out from the computer. So what are the, before that, output is processed data from computers to users. We call it processed data because this is when at the end you get, you take it out and then you use it for your information, for instance. Okay, enables users to send out the processed data out of computer. So whatever data you want it from the computer, and then you want it in hand. Okay, you want it to be physically there. It can be images, it can be essays, it can be Excel file consisting of a lot of numbers, graphics, videos, whatnot. Okay, so what are the examples here? Monitor, the screen. All right, output device. Why? Because it shows you the informations you read from your monitor. And then printer, this is when you print the report. When you print the essays, you print the images. And then speaker, this is when you hear something from the computer. For instance, just now when I played a YouTube video, you can only hear it if you have a speaker, for instance. Okay, and then headphone. Okay, headphone is a unique device because if the headphone comes in with a built-in microphone, then your headphone can be considered as both input and output device, because you send information when you speak to your headphone, or when you listen to music, that one is output device because you are getting something from the device. And then projector, when you project the information to screen, for instance, so that one is also an output device. So I hope everyone is okay so far with both input as well as output devices, because next we'll move forward with system unit. So what is a system unit? System unit, also known as a tower or chassis, contains the main components of a desktop computer. So this is a system unit. Okay, the motherboard lah. Alright, it includes the motherboard, the CPU, the RAM, whatnot. Okay, random access memory. The case that houses these components is also part of the system unit. So this is an example of system unit. So in order for you to process the information after you getting the input just now from the input devices, keyboard, mouse, camera, whatnot, so the system unit will be the one processing it. Okay, the memory will be processing it, the software will be processing it before you can produce the output using the output unit just now. And the next one, we have communication devices. Communication devices. So the keyword here is communication. So when we talk about communication, first thing first, you need to understand what is communication. So when you communicate with someone, this is definitely when you provide with some input, and then that other person should be able to understand what you are trying to say, because a communication can only be successful when the message is fully understood by the other party. For instance, right now I am trying to make you understand about the first topic. So I am communicating to you. I am telling you the story, showing you the video, explaining to you all the points, whatnot. And the communication can only be successful if you understand what I am trying to say. So that's why communication is very, very important, because a successful communication, as I mentioned to you just now, one more time, a successful communication is when both parties understand the message, right? So when it comes to communication here, it doesn't have to be verbal only. It can be non-verbal as well, because those mute, for instance, when they're using sign language, sorry, alright, sick, I love you, for instance, okay? So they are communicating as well by using non-verbal means, okay? So that's why communication, it doesn't have to be verbal, but it can be non-verbal as well. Not only using the sign language, but when you produce the report, for instance, when someone reading the report, when they understand the report, even without you explaining it, it is a form of communication as well. So that's why we can use infographic, maps, charts, and even YouTube videos to convey information. So we can also convey information. We can also communicate using videos, all right? Using pictures. So that's the beauty of communication. It doesn't have to be verbal only, but it can be non-verbal as well, all right, in a lot of other forms. So when it comes to communication device, definitely we need those devices to send the information, all right? So as we know it, when it comes to information technology, we are trying to share the information. We are trying to get the information across the country to the other part of the world. For instance, you are trying to send the report from Malaysia to China, to Canada, for instance, all right? So in order for you to do so, you need communication devices, okay? So hardware device capable of transmitting analog or digital signal over the telephone, communication wire, or wirelessly. So in order for you to better understand communication device, here's the example. Computer modem. You're very lucky because I don't think that you've lived in this time where in order for you to be connected to the internet, you need to use this modem, right? And it takes time to be connected to the internet, and the internet connection is not as strong as what you have today, and it is definitely not wireless. You are using the cable, all right? Ask your parents, all right? Definitely they are using modem back then, okay? But you're very lucky as the younger generation. Definitely you guys are using the Wi-Fi devices. Yes, you have the router, whatnot, to be connected to the internet so that you can share the information, so that you can communicate such information. And then here we have Bluetooth devices as well, yes, to share pictures, videos, whatnot. So here are the example of communication devices. So communication devices is just like the middleman, right? In order for you to get the information from your computer to be transmitted to the other devices. Alright, to other places. So that is communication devices. Keyword, yes. Exchanging data. To exchange data, alright, from one point to the other. And moving on to the next one. What we have here, we have computer network. So for computer network, it is a set of computers connected together. So that's why we call it network. When it comes to network, I believe you've heard of this term before. Net, in Malay sarang, alright, just like net, okay, and then work. Why? Because they are all connected to each other here. This is an example of a computer networks. Why we call it a computer network? Because these computers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all these 8 computers, all these 8 devices, they are all connected to a network, okay? Here, the network, for instance, okay? So when it comes to a computer network, it can be small, it can be big, it can be super big, all right? So when it comes to computer network, we have 4 main type of computer networks. What are they? Here, but before that, let us talk about the benefits of having a network first, okay? So first thing first, let us discuss about the benefits of having computer network. So first thing first, allow the users to share peripherals, for instance, printer and scanner. So when you are connected to the network, it allows you to share the devices, printer, scanner, for instance, okay, at Unirazak, at level 13, for instance, the lecture rooms, we have few printers, and all of the PC, all of the laptop, all of the computers are connected to the network, to the printer's network. So if I want to print something, I can always print that information, not only from my computer, but from Dr. Su's PC as well, from Miss D PC as well, from Madam Hidayah Prince PC as well. So I can always use their PC or their computer to print the information as well. So that's the beauty of having a network first, because when you are connected to the same network, so you can always share the peripherals here, the devices, printer, scanner, whatnot. Second, Second benefit of having network, it allows the users to transfer file from one place to another place without using external storage media, for example, email. Yes, because when you are connected to the network, for instance, the internet, Google, for instance, Gmail, all right? So from one Gmail to the other Gmail, so you can send email, for instance, even without the need to print the report and then deliver it using courier, post laju, DHL, pick up, JNT, whatnot. No, you can always share the information straight away using email, because the computers, they are connected to the network, to the internet, for instance. And definitely third, the benefit of having a network here, any connected computers, the devices, okay, they can simply share information, resources, and may access from one another. For example, your system, all right? As a foundation student, I believe you have already logged into your FMS and UROX. Definitely, because you won't be able to watch this video, you won't be able to see this face now if you're not connected to UROX. So definitely, if you're connected to UROX and then you have access to FMS, you can always log into UROX, not only from your smartphone, but from the other devices as well. Why? Because all the devices are connected to the internet, and then you have the access your Uniraza email at, all right, for instance, to enable you to log into the network, all right, into UROX or into FMS. So here are the beauty or the benefits, advantages of having network. So moving on to the next one, as I mentioned to you earlier, if you guys remember, when it comes to network, we have four main types of network. So what are they? The four types of computer network designed according to the size. Okay, from the smallest one, we have PAN here, the smallest one, to the biggest one, 1. Okay, to the biggest one, 1. All right. So we have PAN, LAN, MAN 1. PAN, LAN, MAN 1. All right. PAN, LAN, MAN 1. PAN, personal area network, personal. LAN, local area network. MAN, metropolitan area network. And 1, wide, worldwide or wide area network. So let us look at each one of them. Are you guys ready? Yes, I know you are. All right, so the first one, personal area network, as the name is personal, your own network. So definitely the range or the size is very small. All right, usually arranged within an individual person, typically within 10 meters in a house, for instance. All right. So for instance, if you are staying in the living room, all right, and then your printer, for instance, is in the room, in your bedroom. So let's say you're using your laptop in the living room, or all right, and then you want to print something. If your laptop is connected to the same network as your printer, so you don't have to go to your room to print. You can always print from your living room. Okay, so you don't have to commute, you don't have to move around, you can print from anywhere at any point in the house lah. All right, so that's the beauty of having this personal area network. So that's why we call it personal, because you don't want others to be able to access the network, for instance your Unify, your Maxis Fiber, whatnot. So that's why it has been protected by password, and I believe you don't want others to be able to be using your network, okay, because you want to limit the numbers of users, because you want to protect it, and then you don't want the speed to be compromised, because as we know it, when more and more people are using the network, definitely the speed will be less and lesser. All right, so that's why you protect it with password, for instance. Okay, and definitely all those devices are for your own personal use. Okay, your own use. So your own PC here, for instance. Okay, so let's say if you have other devices, okay, connected to the internet, to the computer, all right, your telephone, your laptop, yes, your mouse. Okay, and a good example would be here, okay, this mouse being connected to the device, And then the what we call this, the keyboard is being connected to the device as well. Alright, my iPhone just now is being connected to the device as well. Even the watch is being connected to the device as well. Yes, all the airport whatnot being connected to the device as well. And this is an example of personal area network, okay, because the range is not that big, usually covers an area of 30 feet. So that's why your home, personal home, for instance. Okay, so that's why when you're at the living room, you can still print from there. You don't have to go to your room, for instance. Okay, so that's the beauty of having personal area network. The next one, we call it local area network. We call it local because coverage small areas such as building or office. The same goes with the one Uniraza is having. Yes, the building is being connected to the local area network. Okay, definitely it is being used to connect two or more personal computers through a communication medium such as twisted pair, coaxial cable, etc. So in Uniraza, for instance, the computers, the printers, the scanners, even the telephones, whatnot, all of the devices are connected to the local area network. And yes, it is less costly to build, okay, because the size itself is not that big, okay, not that big. So and then the coverage is only within the office building, okay. The data is transferred at an extremely faster rate compared to the other, all right, because the coverage is very small, all right, and then provides higher security. Because why? Because you can only access the information when you are within the range. For instance, when I am at Uniraza, for instance, there are certain information where I can only get it when I am connected to the network at Uniraza. When I go back home, for instance, I can not longer access such information because the way the house, for instance, I'm living in Batu Cave, my house, okay, is not being connected to the local area network at Uniraza, so I cannot access those information. In order for me to access the information, I need to go to Uniraza and then log in with my ID, password, whatnot. So that's why it provides higher security. Okay, so this is local area network keyword within a building, all right, office lah, for instance. And definitely the next one, we call it metropolitan area network. This is it gets bigger lah. PAN, personal area network, just now. Local area network is bigger than personal area network. Now we have MAN, metropolitan area network. Definitely bigger compared to the other two. Alright, as I mentioned to you just now, it gets bigger. So a metropolitan area network is a network that covers a larger geographic area by interconnecting a different LAN to form a larger network. So we have all these smaller LAN from those buildings, from those offices, okay. For instance, government agencies lah here. Yes, government agencies. Okay, government agencies in Gombak, Klang, Petaling Jaya, Shah Alam, whatnot, within the Selangor area, for instance. So all those local area network, we connect them to a larger network. We call it metropolitan area network. Okay, so this is metropolitan area network. So for instance, here we have example Wi-Fi Smart Selangor. Yes, the coverage is only Selangor. Alright, it is big. The coverage is big, but not that big. Because why? The biggest one, here, wide area network. Or the most famous one, the internet. The one we are using on daily basis. Even now, when you are watching this video, definitely you are connected to the internet. So welcome to wide area network, or WAN. Okay, the biggest network. Alright, extends over a large geographical area. So that's why when you're connected to the internet, for instance, you can get the information. You are in Malaysia, for instance. You are in Malaysia, but you can access information from the other countries. Alright, the African countries, Australia, Korea, whatnot. So this is internet, okay? You are connected to the world. So this is the widest or the biggest network. We call it wide area network. Okay, guys. I hope everything is okay so far, right? Okay, so I guess this is we're moving towards the end of the topic already. So towards the end, which covers how we use technology in our daily life as a student, as a worker, staff, uh, different industries, even the government agencies, okay, how government uses the technology. So first industry, why do we talk about education, the one very closely related to you guys as a student, okay, the one close to your heart, I believe, yes, as a student, education. So when it comes to technology, and definitely when it comes to using technology or in education industry, we always have new ways of conducting classes. Yes, class, congratulations, you are now in CFS using online mode. So instead of having physical face-to-face class, all right, instead of meeting in person, we are meeting virtually. So I get to know you guys via online, all right. So I am conducting classes using Google Meet, for instance, using Loom, whatnot, okay? And the ways of conducting classes definitely new and latest way using online platform. And yes, you have online classes as well by using your UROX, for instance. When you log into your UROX, you get to know everything there. Everything is there. The assessment, what are the homework, okay, what are the learning materials, the slides, and then the lecture videos, and then the reading materials, videos, whatnot, everything is there. So definitely you can use technology to enhance your experience in learning, all right, in via the online classes. Yes, by using the UROX as a platform to better understand the subject matter, to better understand the content of the courses, not only for ICT, but for all the subjects. Okay, for instance, for the semester 1 subjects, we have ICT, we have management, we have personal development, we have English 1, we have mathematics. So you get to be using the technology to better understand all these 5 beautiful courses. Okay, and then definitely we have new assessment methods, we have online quizzes, whatnot. Yes, instead of going to classes to sit for your exams, for instance, now you can always go online to complete your assessments. Alright, don't forget, for instance, ICT, we have quizzes, we have discussion questions, we have the midterm, you have the final exam, and then you have all the other assignments, whatnot, not only for ICT but the other subjects, whatnot. And you can always complete those assessments, all right, you can always complete those homeworks, all right, those assignments online, all right, via online methods. And then definitely better access to resources for all. Yes, not only for the students but even for me as a teacher, as a lecturer, I can always go online to look for more and more information so that I can always share the latest and best information with you guys, my beloved students. And then lastly, save time in completing the assignments. Yes, definitely, because for instance, instead of going to the library, to travel to go to the library and then look for the books one by one, now you can always go to the e-library, go online and then look for the catalog and get the book, and then get the materials on the spot and then complete the assignment. So you are being more efficient. Remember just now, class, efficient. When we talk about efficient, remember, because you're going to cover this in your management class as well with Miss Hidayah. When it comes to efficient, remember to minimize effort, to minimize cost, to minimize time. So that's why, thanks to the technology, you are becoming more efficient. Remember that. Okay? And then the next industry, definitely here we have the government agency. All right, so the government is actually, give it for all, yes, the government is actually also using technology to perform better, all right, to be more effective, to be more efficient. For instance, the first one here we have e-procurement. So I believe you haven't heard, or some of you might have heard of this term before, procurement, all right. when it comes to procurement here, class, the other term for it is purchasing. Purchase. For instance, in URSA, we have procurement department, or we can call it purchasing department. This is when the department is responsible to purchase supply, whatnot, to get suppliers outside, okay, so that we can get all the supply from the suppliers. So e-procurement here, for instance, definitely government agencies, they run hospitals, uh, they run clinics, they run schools, all right, all the other amenities, all right. For instance, okay, let's take a hospital, for instance. Definitely government needs someone to manage the hospital, to buy the medicines, to hire someone to clean the hospital, all right, to sanitize the hospital. So how can we get people to do the job? So the government, they have this e-procurement. Why we call it e? Because online. So instead of people go to the government agency and then file their tender, okay, for instance, I go to government agency and I inform them, okay, I want to serve the government, I want to be cleaning the hospital, so this is my tender, this is my application. So instead of doing that, now you can always go online, click, and then send your application. So that's why we call it e-procurement, all right, because you can do it online. So you don't have to travel to the government agency to submit your application. Okay. Beside e-procurement, we also have better attendance taking system. Yes, to use the technology as well. We use biometric, thumbprint, face recognition, whatnot, even the CCTV to capture the evidence when you log into the system, when you walk into the building, when you come to work, instead of writing it manually. So better attendance taking system. Even you realize, even though we're not government agency, we have a very good attendance taking system because we don't need to write it manually. We just need to log in into the system and the system will capture our attendance. Okay, and then definitely lastly here, better medium in sharing information. For instance, the government agencies, even KKM or Ministry of Health, they even have their own Twitter account to share information with the people, all right, about, for instance, COVID-19 cases, about the daily updates about the current situation, the latest numbers, all right, who's being admitted, and then who recovered, okay, how many recovered on daily basis, for instance. So the government also is using technology to better communicate with the people, to share information with the people, all right. And then the next industry, entertainment. I believe this is something closely related to you as well. It's very close to your heart as well, besides education just now, all right? Because when it comes to entertainment, yes, definitely nowadays you have new ways to watch entertainment shows, Netflix, Google Play, YouTube. Yes, you can go to, and watch it online, okay? YouTube, Netflix, whatnot. And then nowadays, thanks to the technology, you have better quality sci-fi movies, for instance, the Avengers, okay, Harry Potter's, whatnot. So all those good quality movies, we can only have them with the help from technology. And I'm very proud because we have a lot of Hollywood movies actually, those good quality movies, where some of the workers are actually Malaysian. For instance, Life of Pi, okay. So we have Malaysian technicians, whatnot, from Malaysia working together with those big movies, alright, to produce those big, high quality, high budget movies. And then definitely, thanks to the technology here, okay, it is very, very easy to you for be known, alright, to be recognized nowadays simply by going viral using the Instagram, TikTok, whatnot. But I hope that you are using these social media platforms wisely, alright, in a positive way, not really on the negative aspect, but to be able to use it wisely. Okay, we'll cover it later next week with the next topic on internet. Okay, and then the next one, definitely not only on the bright side, but definitely technology has its own dark side as well, alright, its own disadvantage as well. For instance, we have issue on copyright and intellectual property rights, because thanks to the technology, people can simply download movies from the internet, all right, pirated movies, okay, not the original one. And definitely this is not healthy, because it has negative impact on the industry lah, definitely. And then thanks to the technology, when the technology becoming more and more advanced, definitely we have more and more new rules and regulations to protect the industry. For instance, not only in Malaysia but in other countries as well, I believe. If you were caught dealing with pirated movies, for instance, definitely you will be prosecuted, you'll be fined, you might even end up going to the jail, all right, going to the prison, for instance. Okay, so that's why we have more and more new rules and regulations to protect the industry. And then the next one, the second last industry, we have retails. Retails, all right, the shops. Okay, so instead of physically going to the shop to shop, all right, instead of going to the shop to shop, yes, instead of going to Mid Valley, KLCC, whatnot for your shopping spree, now you can buy all the stuff online. All right, you have eBay, Lazada, Shopee, okay, all those online platform lah, in order for you to shop. So retails are referring to the shops lah. All right, you can buy Nike, Adidas, Coach, Puma, LV, even Apple products, Samsung products, whatnot, online. Okay, and then definitely you have better access to inputs and outputs. Yes, because thanks to the technology, for instance, better access to inputs. All right, if you have a business and then you want better quality supplies at lower cost, you can go online and then check. Okay, so that's why all those big companies in the US, for instance, Nike, Adidas, whatnot, they outsource their the operations, whatnot, okay, their materials from Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia. Why? Because the costs are definitely lower but the quality is very good. Okay, Bangladesh, for instance, yes, the quality is very good but the cost is very low. So that's why better access to inputs and outputs. Okay, and then now if you want to buy, you can get better products from the States, from the United States of America, for instance, just by going online. But as usual, negative elements to it, yes, definitely. All right, negative aspect to technology, to the retail industry, cybercrime. Because when you go online, when you key in all your information, sometimes people can easily hack and steal your credentials, steal your private information, your name, your IC, your card numbers, your security numbers, whatnot. So that's why you always need to practice safety, all right, when you go online. And this is one more time will be further covered next week. Okay, and then yes, we have also new rules and regulations to better protect all the parties online. Okay, to protect the supplier, to protect the consumer, all right, so that your information is not stolen. Okay, so that when the customer purchase, they really get the product. So new rules and regulations. And definitely the last industry, publishing papers, newspaper, books, whatnot. Unfortunately for publishing, there are more disadvantages than the advantage, I would say, to the industry itself. But for consumers, us, for instance, definitely more advantages. For instance, here, new ways to read. Because instead of physically walk to the shop and then purchase the newspaper one more time, you can go online and then read the information online. New ways to read. You can read from Twitter, Facebook, and even we also have all those newspapers online, all right, Star Online. Okay, so next, we also have new ways to purchase reading materials. Yes, instead of going to the shop physically, as I mentioned to you, you can buy online. You can even go to MPH online, Kinokuniya online to purchase the books. And as usual, you have the issues with copyright and intellectual property. This is when the pirated books now, you buy the material and then you copy it, all right, photostate it, and then you distribute it to the others. Definitely, it has issues on the copyright issues, all right, intellectual property. And unfortunately, nowadays, this is a very sad one. Yep, we have more and more publishing companies in the transition to be paperless. So we have more business shutting down because people are no longer reading from the physical book, all right, because they rather go online. And not only that, we have a lot of other things to do, especially you guys, the younger generations. You have a lot of games, TikTok, Instagram, whatnot, all those distractions. So that's why you read less. But I really hope that as a university student, you will appreciate the importance of reading more. So please read more, and you don't have to buy the books. You can always go online to get those information. All right, be more efficient. Remember just now, efficient, be smart. Okay, so ta-da! That's it with the first topic. Congratulations, you have already completed the first topic, first week, which is on computer and information technology. I really hope that you understand the content, all right? And if you have any questions, whatnot, please don't be hesitate to provide comments, all right, in the discussion, or you can always contact me, all right, via email, WhatsApp, whatnot, to convey the questions, to ask me questions, all right. Please ask me questions if you don't understand anything, and I'll try my very best to get back to you. And yep, that's all for first week. Thank you so much for being here, and I really appreciate your effort in completing the modules, all right, week 1, week 2, week 3, whatnot. And I wish you all the best, and I'll see you again next week. Bye bye.